talking to me. She looked at me and said, look, I always loved you. I still do love you. Pac loves you. He said you was his big brother. He said you was the closest person to him. He was honest with him. He said, I think he loved you more than he loved me. I said, nah, you his mother. He said, but I steal from him. He knows my habit. I said, but still, you his mom. We started laughing.
In 1996, Tupac Shakur was shot 4 times in Las Vegas. 6 days later, he was gone. The official story says it was a drive-by, a gang beef. But almost 30 years later, Suge Knight has started talking from inside a California prison. The former Death Row CEO is making some of the most explosive claims hip-hop has ever heard. That Tupac's own mother, Afeni Shakur, told hospital staff to let her son die, that she rushed his cremation, and that Tupac's ashes weren't just scattered, they were smoked. There's no hard proof. No one else has confirmed it, but that hasn't stopped Suge from repeating it on his podcast and interviews, and now to national media. This isn't just another Tupac conspiracy theory. It's coming from the man who was in the car when Tupac took his final breath. And it raises the biggest question of all. What if the truth was never about who pulled the trigger, but about who made sure Tupac didn't survive? Let's get into it. The Vegas hit September 7th, 1996. Las Vegas was buzzing. Mike Tyson had just flattened Bruce Seldon in less than 2 minutes. Inside the MGM Grand, Tupac Shakur was front row, decked out in Versace, riding high, alive, untouchable. Beside him, Suge Knight, Death Row's kingpin, smiling like he owned the strip. But minutes later, everything flipped. A Death Row affiliate spotted Orlando Anderson in the lobby. A Crip, rumored to have stolen a Death Row chain. Tupac didn't wait. He swung first. Security footage caught the entire brawl, fists flying, Anderson on the ground. Hours later, Tupac and Suge were rolling down Flamingo Road in a black BMW. They were heading to Club 662, the after party. The night was supposed to end with champagne. Instead, it ended in gunfire. A white Cadillac pulled up on the passenger side. 4 shots hit Tupac. 1 grazed Suge's head. Tires screeched. Blood everywhere. Tupac was rushed to University Medical Center. He fought for 6 days. Then, on September 13th, 1996, he was gone. No arrests, no trial, just silence. And for decades, the mystery stayed sealed, until now. Because behind bars, Suge Knight has started talking. And according to him, what happened in that hospital room may be darker than anything we ever imagined, he says. There were more decisions made after the bullets. Decisions that didn't come from cops, killers, or doctors, but from someone even closer to Tupac than he was. What Suge says happened inside the hospital will flip everything we thought we knew. Afeni's decision. According to Suge, Tupac didn't have to die that night. He says the doctors managed to revive him twice. But what came next wasn't a medical call. It was a mother. Suge claims Afeni Shakur stepped into the hospital room and gave the order herself. Not as a grieving parent in shock, but as someone who had made up her mind. Let him go, she allegedly said. No more machines, no more fighting, just silence. To some, that might sound like mercy. To Suge, it was betrayal, because he says Tupac didn't want to go out that way. In his words, Pac told him he didn't want to be cremated. He wanted a big funeral, flowers, a send-off. But according to Suge, none of that happened. Afeni allegedly demanded he be cremated immediately. No delays, no viewings, just ash. Suge says he argued. He tried to push back. But Afeni gave him what he called one of those mama looks, then cussed him out and told him to get it done, so he did. And not just quickly. He says he paid someone $1 million, cash, just to make it happen right away. No photos, no goodbye, no second opinion, only fire. The woman who raised Tupac, the same woman he praised in Dear Mama, might have also made the call that ended everything. Suge's story doesn't come with receipts, but if it's even partly true, the final moments of Tupac Shakur weren't just tragic, they were chosen. And what happened after the cremation, that's where things get even stranger. The ashes. If you thought the story ended with cremation, Suge says that was just the beginning. In what might be his wildest claim yet, he alleges that Tupac's ashes didn't go into an urn or get scattered somewhere sacred. They went into a blunt. That's right. Suge says some of Tupac's closest friends took the ashes, rolled them into a joint, and smoked him, as a tribute, as a ritual, as a way to keep Pac alive. Suge didn't name names, he didn't say who lit the blunt, but he swears it happened, and here's the twist. He claims he couldn't take part himself, not because he didn't want to, because he was on parole. If I did that, they'd have locked me up on the spot. He laughs, like it's just another bizarre memory from a long list of chaos. Now, this isn't a new story entirely. Years ago, members of the Outlaws, the rap group Tupac helped form, claimed in an interview that they smoked Pac's ashes at a beach memorial in California. But even then, it sounded more like a myth than fact until Suge brought it back, loudly, repeatedly. And while it sounds crazy, this is Suge Knight we're talking about. The same man who once ran Death Row Records like a street empire. The same man who bailed Tupac out of prison. The same man who sat inches away when the bullets flew. If he's lying, it's the most elaborate lie hip-hop has ever heard. If he's telling the truth, then Tupac's legacy doesn't just live in his music, it literally lives in the lungs of the people who loved him.
What was the last thing that he said to you?
They loved me. We was in, we was going in, we was on the thing that was getting there. I like, Pac, we the last one left. When we talking, this how we talking. He said, homie, I'm straight. I love you, homie. I'm gonna be straight. I love you too. Woo. That's what it was.
Ask yourself, is this the ultimate tribute or the final disrespect? Either way, one thing's for sure. This isn't a story you'll find in the official obituary, but it's exactly the kind of story Suge says we need to hear because, according to him, the lies didn't start after Pac died. They started long before the shots were even fired. The mother allegation. This is the part that hits hardest. Because Suge isn't just saying Afeni rushed the cremation. He isn't just saying she shut the door on any kind of farewell. He's saying she made sure Tupac never woke up again. Let's rewind for a second. Afeni Shakur was a Black Panther. She represented herself in court while pregnant with Tupac. She beat a federal case, raised a revolutionary, and watched her son become one of the most powerful voices in hip-hop. She was tough, brilliant, unshakable, but according to Suge, she also made the coldest decision of all. He claims doctors revived Tupac twice, that he was hanging on, that he might have made it. And then Afeni stepped in, told them to stop. No more machines, no more revivals. Let him go, she allegedly said. Suge paints it like a betrayal, a move that went against Tupac's wishes, because in Suge's version, Tupac wasn't ready to die. He was scared of going back to prison. He wanted out, but not like that. He thought he'd get better. He thought he had more time. And yet, according to Suge, Afeni took that away. Why would she do that? Grief? Guilt? Some secret she never shared? Suge doesn't offer answers. He just repeats the story with the same intensity every time, and no one stepped up to confirm it or shut it down. Afeni passed away in 2016. The rest of Tupac's family has stayed silent. So what are we left with? A legend, a claim, and a mother whose final act may never be understood. Was it mercy? Was it control? Or was it something darker? Whatever it was, Suge Knight says it changed everything. And he's not done. Because after decades of silence, he's naming names, and he's pointing fingers far beyond the hospital room.
But of course, when we interview Keefe D, he's like, yeah, that's the agreement amount was $1 million.
Old theories, new fire. Suge's claims might be shocking, but they're not alone. They've reignited a fire that's been burning in hip-hop for decades. The conspiracy that Tupac wasn't just killed, he was targeted, and not just by street beefs or random shooters, but by the industry, by insiders, by people with money, power, and secrets to protect. Start with Keefe D. In 2008, during a police interview, he claimed that Sean Puffy Combs offered $1 million to have both Tupac and Suge killed. He said Diddy was scared. Scared of what Tupac knew and scared of what Suge might do. That interview sat sealed for years. But in 2023, it resurfaced. And just like that, Diddy was back in the headlines. Now, law enforcement has said Diddy's never been charged, never even officially named as a suspect, but the whispers haven't stopped. Suge, he's been loud about it. He's gone on record saying Diddy was scared to death of Pac. He's hinted, joked, even stared straight into the camera and said, "You think I don't know who wanted him gone?" Then there's the wildest theory of all, that Tupac never really died, that it was all staged, that he escaped, disappeared, started over, that he's somewhere in Cuba or Malaysia watching all this unfold. Sounds insane, right? But what makes it stick is that no theory ever got closure, no arrest, no definitive answer, just rumors stacked on top of rumors. And now with Suge adding his voice from behind bars, the entire story feels like it's twisting again, not backward, not forward, just deeper. Because if Afeni really made that call, and if Diddy really made that offer, then Tupac's death wasn't just a tragedy. It was a setup in Suge Knight. He's either the only one brave enough to tell the truth, or the last man standing in a game of misdirection.
I have a problem dealing with you because they told me you had my son killed. I said, who is they? She said the endoscope. So she never told me who. And the light finally clicked on. Oh, I get it. So if motherfuckers try to work me, they gonna turn her against me. They gonna lie on me. And the saddest thing about that shit, she died without knowing the truth.
The silence and the smoke. After Tupac died, everything got quiet. Too quiet. No official suspect. No real investigation. Just silence. The hospital staff never gave statements. Death row artists didn't go public. Even Tupac's closest friends, the ones who were always loud in life, went silent in death. Suge says that silence wasn't grief. It was protection. He claims people were scared of lawsuits, of violence, of each other, and some were just trying to keep their hands clean. What about the label? Death Row kept moving. The posthumous albums came fast. Don Killuminati, Until the End of Time, millions in sales. But none of that money went to answer the real question. Who pulled the trigger? And Suge says the people who benefited most were the ones who kept the quiet alive. He points the finger in all directions. He says security dropped the ball, that certain people disappeared right after the Vegas shooting, that the car Tupac was in vanished from evidence that no one from Death Row even testified. It's not just what's been said, it's what hasn't. Suge believes the silence was coordinated, that the people around Tupac didn't want the truth coming out, because the truth would hurt their pockets or worse. And then there's Afeni again. Suge claims that right after Tupac's cremation, she took the masters, his unreleased songs, and never looked back. That Interscope, the label that distributed Death Row, told her Suge had her son killed. He says she walked into Suge's prison visit with armed men and said, "You're never getting any of it back." Is that the move of a grieving mother, or someone settling a score? Whatever it was, the silence wasn't just mourning, it was strategy. And now, after all these years, Suge says he's done being quiet. He's naming names. And he's starting with the people everyone thought were untouchable. Suge's motive. Why now? Why would Suge Knight wait nearly 3 decades to tell these stories? To say Afeni gave the final order? To claim Tupac was smoked like a ritual? To suggest music industry giants knew more than they let on? It's the question everybody's asking. Is this about the truth? Or is it about control? Let's not forget who Suge is. He ran Death Row like a fortress. He signed Tupac when no one else would. He gave him money, security, a platform. He was in the car the night Tupac was shot. He caught a bullet too. And then he went to prison, watched his empire collapse, watched others profit off Tupac's legacy, watched his own name turn to poison. Now, from inside a California prison cell, Suge's found a mic again, a podcast, a platform of voice. And maybe that's the answer. Maybe he's tired of being the villain, tired of letting everyone else control the narrative, because for years people pointed at him, said he set Tupac up, said he was behind the murder, that it was all business. Now he's flipping the table, saying he wasn't the mastermind, he was the witness, the scapegoat, the only one who actually cared. Of course, there's another theory, that this is all ego, that Suge's just stirring the pot, dragging the dead into drama to keep himself relevant, that with nothing left to lose, he's tossing fire into the story one last time. It could be revenge, it could be truth, or it could be both. Whatever it is, Suge's not backing down, and every time he speaks, the mystery deepens, because the closer we get to the truth, the more it starts to sound like fiction. What the evidence says. So far, Suge's claims have been raw, emotional, and messy, but are they real? Let's pull back from the smoke and check the facts. In 2023, Las Vegas police arrested Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, a known Compton Crip, for his role in Tupac's murder. It wasn't based on rumors or podcasts. It was based on taped interviews, confessions, and years of gang surveillance. Keefe D admitted he was in the car when the shots were fired. He claimed his nephew, Orlando Anderson, pulled the trigger. That matches what many suspected all along, that the shooting was payback for the MGM Grand Beatdown. Tupac started just hours before revenge. Street justice, not a conspiracy. And yet, Suge's version tells a different story. He isn't denying the shooting, but he's saying that what happened in the hospital afterward is where the real story begins. But here's the thing. There are no hospital records confirming Afeni told doctors to pull the plug. No witnesses have backed that up. And cremation records? They only show that Pac was cremated fast, not why Ace for the ashes being smoked. The Outlaws mentioned it once in an MTV interview, but even they sounded half joking. There's no video, no photos, just words. The same goes for Suge's claim that Afeni took Tupac's masters at gunpoint. Dramatic. Yes. Documented. No. So what do we do with all this? We're left with a mix of facts, speculation, and memory. Some from the streets, some from a prison cell. None of it airtight. But that's the thing about Tupac's story. The facts have always lived beside the fables, and sometimes the fables ring louder. The evidence gives us a timeline, Suge gives us a motive, and somewhere between those two, the truth is still hiding. The legacy of the lies. With every word Suge says, the story of Tupac's death becomes harder to pin down. The lines between reality and rumor are almost gone. And maybe that's the point, because this was never just about one night in Vegas. It's about what came after. The silence, the contracts, the albums, the way Tupac's name became a brand, how his image got frozen in time. Young, shirtless, immortal. And now, nearly 30 years later, Suge Knight is trying to unfreeze it, to remind people that behind the murals and platinum plaques was a real man, a complicated one, and maybe, in Suge's eyes, a betrayed one. He's not just pointing fingers, he's reclaiming the moment, trying to rewrite the narrative before someone else locks it in forever. But is that justice, or just another power move? Tupac's mother is gone. The shooter, Orlando Anderson, died in a shootout back in 1998. Keefe D is facing trial, and Suge, he's locked up, serving 28 years for a hit and run. His empire's gone, his artists scattered, his enemies aged or buried, but his voice still cuts through. And now it's reshaping a legend. So what's the legacy? Maybe it's this, that Tupac's death will never stop raising questions, that no matter how many arrests, how many interviews, how many headlines, there will always be room for one more theory, one more twist, one more what if. Because in the end, Tupac wasn't just an artist, he was a story. And stories like this don't die. They just get louder. Let's bring it all together.
I'm doing something. I just think we all need to take a deep breath. People should network together. People should see how far we can go as a team and as a situation where we're fighting amongst each other. War is never good for no one.
The cost of knowing. Tupac didn't just leave behind music, he left behind questions, unanswered, uncomfortable, unrelenting. For decades, people blamed gangs, rivals, even the industry. But now, from a prison cell, Suge Knight is tearing open the story again, not just to clear his name, but to shake the foundation of what we thought we knew. A mother pulling the plug, a funeral turned to smoke, masters taken at gunpoint, and a legacy built on silence. It all sounds too wild to believe. And maybe that's exactly why it stuck, because in a world where every answer felt incomplete, Suge's version dares to be complete. Messy, brutal, human. Is it the truth? That's up to you. But one thing is undeniable. He's made sure the world is asking again, and maybe that's all he ever wanted. So now it's your turn. Do you believe Suge Knight? Was Tupac taken too soon, or taken by someone closer than we ever imagined? Let us know in the comments. Drop a like if you learned something new, and subscribe for more stories that go deeper than headlines and louder than rumors. This wasn't just another conspiracy, this was a confession, and it might change how you remember Tupac forever.
City of angels in constant danger, South Central LA can't get no